while there is now.
Join me, and together we can rule the galaxy as father and son.
Was Star Wars the one with the little wizard boy?
Welcome to Rogue One Radio, your source for sweet jams and conversations about a galaxy far, far away. And now, from the remnants of Jeddah City, it's Rogue One Radio.
Are you stuck-up, half-witted, scruffy-looking nerf herder?
This podcast is part of the Red 5 Network. For more Red 5 Network podcasts, visit red5network.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to Rogue One Radio. This is episode number 27. And I am one half of your host team, Steve, and with me is Charlie. How's it going today?
Man, it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, I'm telling you.
Yeah. So what's been going on with you this week?
Oh, man, Thanksgiving hangover, I'm telling you. Between all the food and the cooking and the cleaning afterwards, and now the temperatures are starting to dip here. It's pretty crazy. But that's all right. It's almost the end of the year, almost Christmas time. It's chugging right along. Hopefully we'll be able to put 2020 in our rear view and never look back.
Yeah. Anything you've been reading, watching? Anything interesting of note?
Well, I'm trying to get through the Aftermath audiobooks. I finished the first one, and I'm on the second one today. As far as reading, and so my off time, I'm still reading through the Harry Potter series. So I'll be well versed once we hit Universal. Coming up here in a few months for our family vacation, and we're going to go check out Harry Potter World, so that'll be fun. I finished Mafia on the PS4 and am now on Mafia 2, so replaying that trilogy in its remastered glitchiness, but it's still a fun story to play. Other than that, yeah, that's about it. Just work and, just trying to keep up with the Joneses here at the house. How about you?
You've read the Aftermath trilogy before, haven't you?
I have. It's just I haven't read them in a while, so some of the details are slipping. I got them from the library, so of course you have to turn them back in. Yeah. So it's not like I don't really remember that one. Let me just pull it off the shelf. Right. So I managed to had a few credits on Audible and got the first two here next week. I believe I get my next credit and I'll pick up the third Aftermath and hopefully just keep plugging along.
Yeah, I've got that app on my iPhone. It's called Libby, where you can borrow. You've got to hook it into your library system, but you can borrow audiobooks there, and you can also borrow ebooks. So if you've got like a tablet, you can read them on there through that same thing. So I do a lot of my books that way. I am currently reading through Twilight. No, not Twilight Company. Inferno Squad. I've got that one on the Libby, and I'm reading. I'm listening to the audiobook of that one, and I'm actually, I want to say I'm about 80% done with it.
Nice.
So I don't have much to go on that one. I am also reading A Certain Point of View, Empire Strikes Back, the new one. I pre-ordered it, and got it when it came out, but then Joey confiscated it, so I couldn't read it until I got to it. So I'm reading those two. I just finished reading. We talked about it last week. I read the part one of the Dune graphic novel.
Oh, yes.
The one last week we were talking about the it's supposed to be a faithful interpretation of the novel. And so I've just finished last night reading book one of that one. Apparently book two doesn't come out until 2022.
Oh, wow.
So that's crazy. Reading, is there anything else I'm reading? Oh, I just started reading an old Legends Star Wars comic book. I've read it before, but it's been, oh God, I don't know how many years it's been since I read it. But I found it on my Comixology app. It's an old Tales of the Jedi, the Freedon Nad Uprising.
Oh, yeah.
So I've been reading that. What else have I been doing? Video games. So I finally finished Watch Dogs, the original one. I started to play The Last of Us, and I really, unfortunately, could not get into it. It was moving really slow, and the gameplay, it's really just the gameplay is really slow to me. The story seems really cool, but I don't really want to sit on my PlayStation and just watch a game, which is what I felt like I was doing. Like, it's almost like I didn't need my controller. I was just watching the game happen. With a few spots here and there where I actually did something. So I quit playing that, and a couple of weeks ago I had bought on sale at the PlayStation Store the Assassin's Creed Ezio collection. So I actually started playing Assassin's Creed 2 again. Actually, I'd never played it on the PlayStation 4. I had that. I don't think I played that since I had my Xbox 360. So I've been playing that, and right about the same time, I think I also bought Watch Dogs 2, but I haven't jumped into that one yet. Oh, I know what else I've done on video games. I did get back onto Fallout 76 for a little bit because that Brotherhood of Steel update.
Oh, yeah.
They're calling it an update rather than a DLC. Yeah, I guess in a way it's not really DLC because you're playing it. If you're on Fallout 76, you don't have the option not to download it. It's just you have to download it. So that one, it was not supposed to come out until like this week or next week, sometime in December. It wasn't supposed to come out, but through some sort of accident, it got released.
Interesting.
So I played through that. It added a new storyline with the Brotherhood of Steel and added a few cosmetic things. But I got on there and I played the new Brotherhood of Steel storyline in it, and I finished that in one night. So it wasn't really all that huge. It was cool. I liked it. It was kind of short. But yeah, that's pretty much my week. Reading and playing video games and getting ready to do another episode here.
Oh, yeah.
So we will be talking about the newest chapter of The Mandalorian. That'd be chapter 13, The Jedi. We've got our top 5 list coming up later in the show, which may take up quite a bit of time. And we've got our news segment that we will go over. But before we jump into that, let's go ahead and take a pause and do our first musical break. This one is from a band called Somerset Thrower. They just released an album in November called Paint My Memory. And the song is called Too Rich to Die. All right, that was Too Rich to Die by Somerset Thrower. And
Nice.
we'll have some more music coming up for you later in the show. But now it is time for our news segment. It was actually not a very news-heavy week.
No, not at all.
Yeah, so most of the news that ended up in our rotation was stuff that happened here within the last couple of days. It was weird how how little news there was. So the first thing I've got, it's non-Star Wars related, but it is regarding Super Nintendo World, which is a theme park put out by Universal Studios Japan. So unless you are able to get to Japan anytime soon, you may not get to go to the opening, which will be February 4th. So Super Mario World, not Super Mario World, Super Nintendo World is a Nintendo themed theme park. And will, according to the article found on DIS Universal, it will bring to life Nintendo's legendary worlds, characters, and adventures. It's going to include a Mario Kart attraction, so that will be cool, as well as restaurants, shops, and other experiences. And apparently the cost of admission is $3,200. I'm guessing that's yen. So that would be about $30. That's not bad.
Wow.
Except you've got to go to Japan to do it. So yeah, it's going to be it's a theme park, and according to the article, it's like a interactive theme park, because you have things you can collect as you go through the park, and you can gather keys, and it says keep score via a special application. So apparently it's like a contest as you're going through this immersive new theme park. So we've got some pictures here. I will put the link to this in the show notes so that you can see the pictures that we found. There's pictures of the Mario Kart experience, as well as the Yoshi's Adventure experience. And I guess it's showing the wristbands and the app that you get to play with as you're going through the park. So that looks kind of cool if you are a Nintendo fan.
Yeah, it sounds cool.
Yeah, it does. I've been to Japan once, but if I ever decide to go again, that'd be kind of cool to go see. Second piece of news we have is an update on the Disney Plus Hawkeye series, starring Jeremy Renner from the MCU movie series. Apparently, the series is going to begin filming in New York this week. And this was an article printed yesterday by comingsoon.net. So I'm assuming that means this week. They're going to be doing some filming in Brooklyn, and according to other reports, the part of Kate Bishop has been cast, and where's it at? Haley Steinfeld is supposed to be the casting choice for Kate Bishop. And Kate Bishop, of course, is from the Hawkeye comic book series, who ultimately becomes Hawkeye after Clint Barton retires. So I'm actually looking forward to that. In fact, it's probably the MCU TV show, or at least one of the MCU TV shows that I am most looking forward to.
Yeah, I agree. I think Hawkeye is one of the more underrated superheroes or members of the Avengers team. He really held the moral compass, whether it was good or bad. He always had that good middle ground. And yeah, it's great character. I can't wait to see what they do with it.
Well, and the really cool thing about it, about his character, is he was between him and Natasha, they were the most human characters.
Yeah.
You could put Tony Stark in there, but he had a suit of armor. So he was just the only about Natasha and Hawkeye. Really, all they had is their skills. They had skills. They didn't have powers. They didn't have super suits. They just had skills.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah. And all right. So what's our next piece of news?
Well, if you'll remember last week's Mandalorian episode that was with, I believe it was last week's one. Yeah. I'm going through Mandalorian trauma because of this last episode, and everything is kind of a little bit detached. But yeah, when we had, it was the directorial debut of Carl Weathers, and there was a shot in there that was inadvertently left in. And if you'll remember, it's the latest thing was, man, I'm going to be Gene's guy for the next celebration or a Comic-Con. I'm just going to go as Gene's guy, because in one shot you see in an inverted guy standing in the background, partially hidden by a door, and you just see his the edge of his jeans and a watch, and that has since been removed by Disney Plus. Yeah, it was kind of disappointing. Even Carl Weathers was having fun with it on Twitter. And he did such a great job. I would have just left it. It's just one of those things that happen from time to time, and it was absolutely great to have something different to discuss. But unfortunately, it will have to live on either in cosplay or in internet infamy, because it is no longer able to be viewed on Disney Plus. So the next bit of news that I have is also non-Star Wars related per se. But it is a project that is done by Lucasfilm, and I believe is going to be on Disney Plus as well. It had to do with an article that Warwick Davis had on the Willow sequel. And it was a really cool article. It was on geektyrant.com. And it says, Warwick Davis discusses the Willow sequel series and what he hopes to see in the story. So we've already know that it's being produced by Ron Howard, directed by John Chu. It's takes place after the events of the original Willow, with new characters and of the realm that it's not anything that's going to be strange to us. That those of us that have seen Willow, and it will take of course the hero will be Willow Ufgood, which is performed by Warwick Davis, who is in every Star Wars movie. He's also in Harry Potter as well, but great actor, great guy, it seems like, from everything that I've read on him, by him. So it just looks really cool. When we last left him off, he was just beginning to grow in his power, and would love to see him actually pull off some really cool stuff.
Cool. It's funny. I actually did not watch that movie in its entirety. until like right after it was launched on Disney Plus.
Mm.
So I didn't actually. I mean, I guess I was either very late last year or very early this year. I had never actually watched it all the way through, but we sat down as a family and watched it. And I thought I had watched it all the way through, but we're sitting there watching it, and I'm like, I don't remember this part. Maybe I didn't actually watch this. But yeah, it's good. It'd be interesting to see what they're going to do with the Disney Plus series.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of Disney Plus, the the list of top streaming shows, according to Nelson ratings, was released recently. And our show, the Mandalorian, actually made number 3 of the top 10 streaming shows. It was beat by the number 1 streaming show, The Queen's Gambit, and number 2 was The Office. Now, I do want to point out that this was a list of most viewed shows in the week of October 26th.
Interesting.
So, yeah, so The Queen's Gambit I have not seen. The Office is that TV series, which a lot of people really love that show, and I've seen maybe 4 or 5 episodes. I wasn't as into it as a lot of other people are. But The Mandalorian hit number 3. Interestingly enough, as I look at this top 10 list, everything is Netflix except for The Mandalorian.
Huh, that's interesting.
And yeah, so it was cool to see The Mandalorian up there on the top of some of these other shows. It beat out shows like Schitt's Creek, Grey's Anatomy, NCIS. There's a lot of people watching these old shows, aren't there?
Well, let's see. Yeah, well, Grey's Anatomy is still going.
That's right.
I think that. Right. Yeah, they're on like season 16 or 17, I think, of that one. NCIS is still going.
That show.
What's that?
My oldest daughter and her husband watched that show fairly religiously.
Yeah. Well, once they put out a new season on Netflix, my wife and I watch it. So it's.
I think I watched maybe the first season, but it wasn't really my thing.
Yeah.
Besides The Mandalorian.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
But yeah, it's something that we can do. I have a small video screen mounted to the side of the bed, and when we retire for the evenings and my wife wants to watch some TV or whatnot, she could watch it on the main TV, and I have my gaming system right there next to the bed, and she could watch her shows. And I could watch along with her and still play my games. So
genius.
Yeah. So it helps. And yeah, I started just kind of listening in, and that's one of the strong points of that show is that the more that you listen in, the more you're like you get caught up on what's going on, and it's. And of course, she does the same with any of the Star Wars as well. Yeah. I'll watch a Star Wars or a Marvel thing. That's not normally her thing, but when let's watch the next one. Okay, yeah, sure. So we'll watch a lot of stuff together.
Yeah, my wife doesn't like Star Wars, so she doesn't watch that stuff with me. The show that she and I watched together is an old. Well, I say old. It's not crazy old. But it's a show that ran from 2015 to 2019. I think there were 5 seasons. It's called Blind Spot.
Sounds familiar.
And it has, the main character is played by Jamie Alexander, who played Lady Sif in the Thor movies. So yeah, there were 5 seasons. I think we're in season number 2, so we're not too heavy into it yet. But well, that almost wraps up our news section. Our last piece of news that we wanted to kind of save for the last here is regarding as far as I think a very well-known Star Wars talent. So we would be remiss in not mentioning this in memory. Actor David Prowse, who was the actor that actually wore the suit in the original trilogy. As we all know, James Earl Jones provided the voice, but David Prowse actually was the person walking around in the suit and doing most of the stunts. So it's kind of just sad to announce that he did die recently at the age of 85. I guess it doesn't, the article that I'm reading from Jedi Insider doesn't list a cause of death, but it does say that he was suffering from an illness at the time. Now, did you know, I actually hadn't put 2 and 2 together, but do you know he was in the movie A Clockwork Orange?
Yes.
And that's how he got the role of Darth Vader. So yeah, that was interesting. I've seen that movie a couple times. I didn't realize that was David Prowse playing the bodyguard in that movie. But yeah, so you have anything to add to that?
Well, yeah, it's unfortunately, it seems like him and George Lucas had a falling out, and we didn't really get to see too much more of him after that. I've heard he was just a great guy from some of the people I've talked to that do the conventions and whatnot. But yeah, and I had no idea, especially through the original trilogy when it first came out, that the person doing the voice was not the person that was inside. Inside. I just thought it was the same person, and then of course as you get older, then you're like, well, why wasn't it? And I love the James Earl Jones voice, but I think it would have been cool to have something with David Prowse other than just the guy in the suit.
Yeah.
Sad news for Star Wars fans. It's wish we could have gotten a little bit more.
Yeah. So our thoughts go out to the family of David Prowse, and rest in peace.
Absolutely.
All right. So next up, we're going to do our discussion of Chapter 13 of The Mandalorian right after this next musical break. This is from a band that I actually accidentally came across called the Angry Lisa's, and the reason their name even popped up, and I don't remember what I was searching for, but the name of the song we're going to be playing is called Twin Suns.
Nice.
So I know how I came across them. A couple weeks ago, we played a song by a band called FOD.
Yes.
FOD had mentioned us on their, it was either their Facebook or their Twitter page. It had to have been Facebook. And the Angry Lisa's commented on it and said, hey, you should listen to Twin Sons. Because the discussion was that FOD was saying, oh, we've made it onto a Star Wars podcast. So that's one mark off our bucket list kind of thing. And so they came on and said, hey, we've got this song called Twin Sons. So I checked it out, and it does come off of a new album that they just put out in October called Slate Violet. And so, yeah, this is Twin Sons by the Angry Lisas. That was Twin Sons by the Angry Lisas. And it is that time. we are going to talk about Chapter 13 of The Mandalorian.
What an episode.
Oh, where to begin? That was, I gotta say, a couple of days before the episode hit, or the episode dropped, I saw something about the title being the Jedi. I thought it was a fan prank. I thought it was some kind of prank. Somebody put it out. Okay, it's called the Jedi. But yeah, from the beginning of the episode, my mouth dropped. Just I had no words. You get that first look of Rosario Dawson as you see you're looking at a live action Ahsoka within like the first 10 seconds of the show, and it's just like I was speechless. I was like, okay.
I was right there with you. In fact, I was typing in our Red 5 group on Twitter because a few of the group had already seen it, and they're like, "Oh wow, wait till you see this! It's amazing, no spoilers." And I was like, "Man, I'm really hesitant about even watching it, just because I knew the title, I knew what we were going to see." And I said, all right, now I'm going for it. And then I watched the first 10 minutes, and it's 7.5, 8 minutes of that first opening segment before it even flashes to the title screen. And I paused it, and my wife was there next to me, and she's like, well, what's wrong? I'm like, I'm just trying to digest what I just saw.
Yeah.
And she's like, she looked at me, kind of funny, but, when you have a character that has only been animated and you get that first glimpse of it, and my first response in our chat group was, well, that answers the question whether or not Rosario Dawson can pull it off.
Yeah.
Because she did with flying colors, and wow,
gosh.
what a great episode.
Like, other than the voice, which I thought I was going to have a problem with, because it's not the voice of Ahsoka. I thought I was going to have a problem with that, but I didn't. It was just so, like, oh my gosh, spot on. It was just amazing. And to see, you're talking about a very popular Star Wars character.
It's my second favorite of all Star Wars characters, beating out anybody else in the original trilogy.
Now, I do remember there was some discussion on, I want to say it was Facebook, one of the groups that I get on, one of the Star Wars groups I get on, somebody had made a comment about, whoever wrote this episode doesn't know Ahsoka. And that person got jumped on so bad. It's like, you do realize the person that wrote this episode is the person that created Ahsoka. So you just opened up a can of worms, sir.
Wow. Yeah.
Oh, man.
That's somebody that had no idea.
No clue. I wonder how many people, or what percentage of the people that are watching The Mandalorian have never watched either the Clone Wars or Rebels.
Man.
I just wonder, going back to the Bo-Katan episode and then this one, and having no idea who these people are. Like, I couldn't imagine going in and watching the show not knowing the history.
My kids have done that, and because they like Star Wars, but they're not as big into it as I am, and uh, and they get the same reactions, like, wow, hey, this is cool, and
Yeah.
I'm like, well, and it's like, and they don't know the whole backstory. So yeah, a lot of people can come into it and fall right into right in line with what's going on in the Mandalorian, and the same way that you could with the watching the original trilogy, because that was set in the middle. We have no idea what happened before or after at the time,
Yeah.
but it was just a good story and great visual effects that drove us to become passionate with it and want to learn more. And of course, eventually we did get more, but it's a phenomenon. And I'm guessing that the uptick in Clone Wars and Rebels views have probably gone up quite a bit
Oh,
since they're
yeah.
on Disney Plus as well.
Imagine.
I
Yeah.
just thought of that. I haven't even. I don't even know if there's a way to look that up and see if there has been. But I would guess that with the character that's this pivotal in a streaming show that was number 3 out of all streaming shows, then people are probably going to go search for more stuff and watch the Clone Wars and the Rebels as well.
I wonder, on that same token, I wonder how many more people are going back to listen or read rather the Aftermath books just to get an idea of who Cobb Vanth is.
Yeah.
Be interesting to know. So I'll tell you what. Why don't you go ahead and give us a brief plot synopsis. Keep in mind, folks, that if you have not watched Chapter 13 of The Mandalorian, you probably want to stop the show here because we are not spoiler free.
Yeah, definitely not. We are 5 days out from the episode.
If you haven't watched it by now, get on it, man.
Right. So pause us, go watch it, and then come back, and then you'll be caught up to where we are. So, but make sure you come back. All right. So, chapter 13, the Jedi. We see Mando going to, it starts with the city of Caldon on the planet of Corvus, which is where Bo-Katan had told Mando that he needs to go. And we see this forest. Looks charred, or I don't know. I looked like something that my first impression was something you'd see on Mustafar. And there's this annoying alarm bell that's going off, and the troops are gathering up all their weapons, and you see these people that are on top watching what's going on. And then there's all sorts of blaster fire, and then you see the dual white lightsaber, of course, is Ahsoka's mark. And Ahsoka does her thing, dispatches the troops and says that she wants the information, and of course she's met with resistance, and she's like, all right, I'll give you a day, and then goes on, disappears, which was absolutely fantastic. But the way that they brought her in and out. But then we go back to Din Djarin. He makes his way onto the planet, makes his way towards the town. He sees that the townspeople there are suffering, and he goes before the magistrate, and she says, hey, we have a problem. I need you to go take care of this Jedi. So he's like, all right, well, what do I get out of it? And she tells him that she will give him this spear of 100% Beskar, if he takes care of her. And so he sets out on his way. And then we have the confrontation as he makes it to, and Ahsoka attacks Mando before he even really has a chance to do anything. They have a brief battle, and he's like, "Hey, wait a minute! Bo-Katan sent me," and then she sees the child, and so we're just kind of getting into that. We find out that Ahsoka is able to communicate with the child, and we learn that the child has a name, and his name is, wait for it, Grogu. And he was raised at the on the Jedi Temple, was saved from Order 66, and he's been in hiding and has kind of let his powers go to in a way to survive. So Mando says, "Hey, you need I'm supposed to find you. You're supposed to train him." That's that. And she says, "Well, if you help me take care of the magistrate, I'll train the child." And he has this iconic line of, a Jedi and a Mandalorian working together. Who would expect that? And they go off to the town.
Yeah.
So Mando goes in. Ahsoka does 90% of the work and dispatches most of the troops. So then we're left with a magistrate and her minion, and a couple of assassin droids. Ahsoka goes off to face the magistrate. Then we have a showdown that was completely 100% Western filled. Right there in the middle of town. Two gunslingers facing off against each other. Mandalorian Din Djarin versus the minion Lang. And of course, Lang tries his best to outwit the Mandalorian, and it does not work, and he's felled. And then we flash back to the battle between the magistrate and Ahsoka. And Ahsoka finally gets the upper hand and demands the knowledge, the information that she's holding on. And then we get another truth bomb from Ahsoka where she says, "Where's your master? Where's Grand Admiral Thrawn?" And I'm sure everyone that was watching at that same time probably had their mouth drop onto the floor, and they had to pick it up while they just took whatever they could. That was not expected by me, at least. So after the battle is over, they release the prisoners. The town is safe, and Din Djarin goes to get the child because he's supposed to leave it with Ahsoka to train. And she says, on second thought, I'm not going to do it. Here's what you need to do. You need to go to a different planet called Tython, another ancient Jedi temple there, put them on a rock, Grogu could choose his path, and if he reaches out with the Force, there might be another Jedi that senses his presence and comes searching for him. And so he takes off with the child. And that's the end of the episode.
Very good. So, surprises. Number one, I was surprised that they brought Ahsoka into the series so early. A happy surprise, of course. Of course, the biggest surprise was there at the end with the reveal what information she's looking for. Like you said, my mouth was open wide. Just, yeah. Whoa. Okay. Are we going to get a live action Thrawn? Or is that going to happen maybe next season? Or is that going to happen
season
in
3?
This much rumored Ahsoka live action series?
I think that we will get him in season 3 because I don't think that the Ahsoka series will be ready to go yet, and because they're already working on season 3 of The Mandalorian,
right?
So, and hers isn't even in pre-production yet, or even close to filming. So, I think we'll get a brief glimpse. And then they'll probably take up later.
So if we get a live action Thrawn, does that mean we're going to get a live action Ezra?
We certainly deserve a live action Ezra.
Yes.
I don't think we will.
So
at least not in Mandalorian. There will be a live action Ezra. I believe it will be saved for the Ahsoka series, though.
Well, so Mr. Filoni and Mr. Favreau, if you could please give us a live action Grand Admiral Thrawn, I think you will make a lot of people very happy.
Absolutely.
Who do you see? Now, I've got my pick for who I think should play a live action Thrawn, but who do you think would make a good one?
My top choice would be Benedict Cumberbatch.
That's not a bad one. I can see that. My top choice would be Michael Fassbender.
He would be good as well. He's my number 3 pick. Jason Isaacs is my number 2.
Okay. Yeah, it's just going to be amazing. Okay, so back to surprises. Yeah.
Yes.
Of course, the surprise, we get the baby's name, and surprisingly, it doesn't start with a Y.
And that was, I wasn't surprised that we were going to get a name because they said all along we will reveal it when the time is right. So I knew that we were going to get one at some point. His name to me would fall under the appointment category, just because it just didn't fit. We in the Star Wars universe we've had 2 others of his species, and they both started with Y.
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right, it's at least has to, if he's not a Yoda or a Yaddle, it's got to be something close to something along those lines. And it just was really odd to me that with the name choice that they picked.
They went with that. Yeah.
Some of the surprises
really for Yorbert.
That sounds like a name he would pick. But some of the surprises that I had was the artistic choices that they made with the city they were in. It really personified Ahsoka as that Ronin type character. And so the city that they were in was really samurai driven. It looked like something you would see in any samurai movie, which I thought was amazing. They did such a great job with the fog and the aesthetics of the city itself. Was very, very well done. And again, there are so many references to other parts of the Star Wars universe, and I was very glad to see that. if I had to pick any disappointments with it, I was disappointed that we didn't get more action with Lang, who was, and I'm going to massacre Michael
Biehn.
Biehn,
Biehn.
who is a well-known actor and a big action movie guy.
Oh yeah, very well known for dying in every role he plays.
Yeah, but I mean, it's normally more physical, and I was surprised we didn't get a more physical character out of him being the actor that he is.
Yeah.
And the biggest disappointment to me was when Ahsoka mentioned that I only knew of one of this race, and I'm pretty certain that she knew of Yaddle as well. They were around this there at the same time.
Maybe she never interacted with Yaddle.
That's the only thing. I was just, it just seems like...
I thought of that too, because I think, Yaddle, the only time you ever saw Yaddle was during council meetings. So maybe she was reclusive and didn't really interact with the Padawans.
Yeah. And I know that, and I'm pretty sure I saw a couple of tweets from the story group where they were kind of, what are you going to do? Hopefully we'll still be able to get, some justice for Yaddle in there somewhere. I would have loved to have seen that, even included. I've only known a couple of this type, So, but what can I say? Not a whole lot of disappointments in this episode. Was really shocked with the name drop of Thrawn. But yeah, it's and I'm sure I'll get into some of the other surprises that I have that are going to be in these in the Easter eggs.
So another thing, I don't know if you'd call this an Easter egg or not, but it was a bit of a surprise that I was happy to hear that. I was just happy to hear them reference the planet Tython.
Yes.
I first heard of that planet when I was playing Star Wars: The Old Republic, the MMORPG.
Mm-hmm.
So to hear that planet, basically taking something very non-canon and making it canon, I was very happy about that.
Mm-hmm. And on that, see if I can find it in my notes that where I had it. It was also mentioned in the Dr. Aphra comic book as well. So yeah, they brought it back into canon in the 2019 Dr. Aphra comic book.
Okay, well, I read that comic book and I don't remember it, but now I'm gonna have to go back and reread.
So, but yeah, it was pretty cool that they referenced it, and I used to play that game as well. So as soon as I heard it, I'm like, oh wow, that's cool. They're dipping back into their bag. But when I started doing some research, it's like, oh well, they already brought it back in Dr. Aphra, which I haven't read as far as comic books yet.
Have they brought Terrace into canon?
Does not sound familiar, so I'm not sure.
Okay, because you know what that is. That's the first planet you go to in the game. No, actually, well, you do go to that planet in Star Wars: The Old Republic, but it's the first planet you visit in the Knights of the Old Republic video game.
Oh, it's been so long since I've played that game.
Yeah,
I really don't remember much of the locales and stuff, but I have it on my Xbox. So I'll have to play that again.
So it'll be interesting to see that pop up.
Awesome.
Are you ready to move on to Easter eggs?
Sure. Absolutely. So, well, of course, we got Ahsoka, which not necessarily an Easter egg, but how early that they were in talks to do this is pretty cool. And kind of Easter eggish. If you remember when season 1 came out, there was a picture of George Lucas, and he was holding the Baby Yoda or Grogu puppet, and and there's so many things. Oh, it looks like a proud grandpa, and all this. Well, just off a frame of that is Rosario Dawson dressed in full Ahsoka attire and makeup and everything, and so I thought that was cool that everyone made such a big deal about this photo, but if they had only known what was off to the side, everyone's collective minds would have popped at that point.
Yeah.
So that was cool. But another thing of Ahsoka that we have is in the Clone Wars, Ahsoka befriended a what do you call it? An owl, a convor owl. And while Din Djarin is looking for Ahsoka, you can see an owl, a convor owl that's up in the trees. If it's the same one that she had, but and I believe that character's name was Morai, and who was a force sensitive being as well in Rebels. So don't know if that was exactly who that was or what the owl was, but it was pretty cool to see.
Yeah.
Another one was a recreated shot of when Ahsoka attacks Din Djarin at the very beginning, when he's using the scope and he spots the strange beasts that are off in the distance a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
When he turns around, Ahsoka is there, and it really reminded me a lot of a scene in A New Hope when Luke gets attacked by the Tusken Raiders, because he's looking through his binoculars and says, they're sand people, all right. I can see banthas and gaffy sticks. And he turns around, and there's the Tusken Raider there and starts to attack him. So it was that was a cool callback that they have there. They did mention Order 66 a little bit. And the Jedi Purge, because that's where he was rescued from, which I'll have a theory on that as well. It's not my theory, but it's a theory that I saw today, which would lend itself very well to the story. When Ahsoka is explaining who the creature is, and she says that I've only known one other of this species, the music in the background changes, and you hear Yoda's theme.
Yeah.
Play, and I was
cool.
like, wow, that's what a way to stick to the details. And yeah, it was just so cool to see that. She also gives Din Djarin a lesson in what is the Force, and she repeats what Obi-Wan says in A New Hope, word for word. Energy field created by all living things, and and she says the whole thing, word for word, just like he did, which was pretty cool. Then we have her referencing Anakin and his fall, when she says that I could tense. He's attached to you. It makes him vulnerable to his fears and his anger, and which goes to the Yoda's speech about fear leading to anger. And then when she's like, "Oh, I'm not going to train him," because of this attachment, and where'd it go? I had it now. My mind's going. But yeah, when she's like, I know what these attachments can do to someone, and it could lead to the down a path that even the best of us will can fall, and just references the fall of Anakin Skywalker, which was something that was pretty significant to me. There's also the term Din Djarin, I believe, uses the term weapons as laser swords. Which that made me chuckle a little bit. I don't think we've heard that since Anakin says it in Phantom Menace when he sees it from Qui-Gon. There is what looks to be a Loth cat, which should have been a clue on what was going to happen a little bit, because we see that in Clone Wars, and we see it I believe we see it a little bit in Rebels as well. It's so that was a cool callback to see, to see that there was a Loth cat in the background.
Yeah, that was cool.
We already talked about Tython, and that it was non-canon, and then they brought it back. But yeah, that's about all I could think of as far as Easter eggs and things that I had written down. And we already talked about Thrawn and what his impact could be as well. So what else any other thoughts that you had on this episode, that you might want to include, or?
I wonder, are we going to get to see Tython this season? We've got what, 4? No, we've got 3 episodes left in the season. So, I mean, at some point I am going to assume there's going to be a climactic confrontation with Moff Gideon. Mm-hmm. So, what's left for this season?
Oh, man. Well, I think the next episode that we're going to get is going to be more of the other characters and Moff Gideon. I think we're going to get more Empire-based episode, probably for the next 1 to 2. I think that we'll get to Tython at. I think we'll get to it at the very last episode, and then we're going to have a big battle, and that's where things are going to change as we get ready for episode or season 3.
Do you think we're going to get more Cobb Vanth?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Not. Honestly, I do. I mean, this is just hypothetically speaking, and I have no inside information or anything. I think we're going to at the end of the season 2, the child will be in the hands of the Empire, or Moff Gideon, or whoever's in charge at that point. If we get, I'm thinking that Gideon will fall in this one. I believe that Bo-Katan will get the Darksaber back, but I think Thrawn will come in and get Grogu at the very end, and Din Djarin will be defeated, and he will get assistance from someone that we won't really expect or would expect, and we see Boba rescue or save Din Djarin at the very end of it, and when we see him I don't know, I almost see it, back on the Razor Crest. We see Din Djarin in a heap, and this figure is putting on the Mandalorian armor, and he's like, who are, and Din would say, something like, well, who are you? As he puts the helmet on, he'll look at him and say, Boba Fett or whatever, and that'll be the end of the season.
Or he won't even say anything. He'll just put the armor on, and that'll be the last scene. Cut to black.
Yeah. Yep. So that's where I think it's going to go. Hopefully I'm wrong, and because I love being wrong about a lot of my theories, because it's always fun to come up with new ones. And I was talking about that earlier today with JG Karse, that hey, half the fun of coming up with wacky and wild theories is when you're proved wrong, you go back to the drawing board and you start over again. Yeah. So, and that will actually lead me to to another thing that we were talking about, as far as how this is all interconnected. There's another show that's coming out on Disney Plus called The Bad Batch, which we've talked about.
Yeah.
And I would not be surprised, and JG had this thought, so all the credit goes to him, that if we see Grogu get rescued by the Bad Batch in their series that they have coming up, and once he said that, I was like, oh wow, my mind started going a mile a minute on how they're going to do this and make it work. And I think that we'll actually get an animated Grogu in the Bad Batch, because I believe that's going to be animated as well. So yeah, and that will help tie things along. And I brought up the point that we have there's a new edition over on Disney Plus Star Wars side, and that's Kevin Feige, if I pronounce that right.
Yep.
And look what he did with Marvel, with all the movies that they have, with the TV shows that they have, and their interconnectivity. They starting with Iron Man and then going back to Captain America, and which order you want to watch it, you get bits and pieces and clues of how things are going, whether it's post-credit scenes or just things that they mention. And it's all interconnected and woven together in a fantastic pattern. And now he's over with Lucasfilms and helping them. I could see there's going to be no telling how many different connections that they'll be able to make with Rebels and the mainstream movies, and any Disney Plus show that they're going to have, and whether it's live action or animated, they're all going to interconnect, and it's going to be absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see his fingers in that universe. Imagine him and Filoni and Favreau all getting together and planning out this massive television universe.
Oh, it's going to be great.
Yeah. So I don't have anything else to mention. Next episode, of course, we'll be recapping Chapter 14, which will come out this Friday. We do still have our top 5 list of the week to go through. We're going to be talking about our favorite Star Wars novels, specifically from the new canon. But before we jump into that, of course, we have our last musical interlude of the evening. This is from a band out of Tulsa, Oklahoma called the Normandys. We played a song from them much earlier in our history as a podcast. But this is another one from an album they put out last year called Co-Conspirators of Greater Evils. And the song is Let Me Believe.
Where did I go wrong from what I once believed? What I wanted, where we lost it from society. And it makes me sick inside to know that nothing's true. And you said it was because of me, and I'm saying that it's you. That I can win, you sink or swim. I haven't lost my fucking mind. So did I ever have a chance, or did I simply play a part? Was it worth the fight, or was it rigged right from the start? But it makes me sick inside to know that nothing's true. You said it was because of me, and I'm saying that it's you. That I can win, you sink or swim. I haven't wasted all my time. That I can win, you sink or swim. I haven't lost my fucking mind. That I can win, you sink or swim. I haven't wasted all my time. That I can win, you sink or swim. I haven't lost my fucking mind.
All right, that was Let Me Believe by the Normandys. So that brings us to our top 5 list of the episode. Before we get into ours, I wanted to list a few. We put it out there on Twitter and Facebook of get your responses of what your favorite books are of the new canon. And my goodness, I did not expect the kind of response that we got. It was crazy. So I'm not going to go through all of them. I'm gonna touch on a few highlights here. Our friend and Uber fan, Rural Farm Boy, said his favorite is the new A Certain Point of View, the Empire Strikes Back book. The guys over at Conversations said their favorite is Master and Apprentice. We had one from Duchess of Darksaber Light, who has a podcast, a fairly new podcast out. Her favorites are Master and Apprentice and Dark Disciple. A friend of mine, this came from Facebook. This is a guy that I actually play the Fantasy Flight role-playing game with. His name is Chris. He gave us an actual top 5. His 5 were Ahsoka. Number 2 and number 3 are the A Certain Point of View books. Number 4 is actually a trade paperback called Vader Down. And then number 5 of his was Aftermath. The girls over at Force of Light Entertainment listed their favorites as Lost Stars and Bloodline. Becca from the podcast Tarkin's Top Shelf listed A New Dawn, Bloodline, Master and Apprentice, Force Collector, Shadowfall, and Thrawn Alliances. And then another podcast, Outer Rim Reads, another book-based podcast, listed Thrawn, Master Apprentice, Chaos Rising, Thrawn Treason, and Queen Shadow. The rest of them, we were just so overwhelmed with responses. We can't in any way fathom listing them all. So what I did is I compiled the list of books that they shouted out with, and the top I don't want to say vote getters, but the ones that showed up more often than any of them were Lost Stars, Bloodline, Master and Apprentice, and Dark Disciple. And a couple of honorary mentions to Dooku Jedi Lost and Leia Princess of Alderaan. They got some good number of votes as well. But yeah, thanks for everybody who responded to that. Hopefully you can when we do our next top 5 list, you guys can get engaged on that one, and yeah, let's see what kind of response we can get next week, because this one was outstanding. How many people responded to this one? A lot of Star Wars novel lovers out there.
Yeah, and that was pretty cool. When we first put it out there, the first day, we had a couple of responses, and I was like, oh man, we're not really, we're going to have to really go at this one alone. But then it started picking up steam, and you and I were like, wow, look at all these comments. Oh wow, hey, look, it's up to here now, and it's great. The whole reason why we talk about Star Wars is, one, that we love it, and two is we love the interaction that we have with other Star Wars fans. So you guys keep that up. When we post for questions, hey, what top 5 would you like to see? Or if we come up with one and say, what are yours out of this that we're going to discuss? Give your input. Any questions, comments that you have for us, let us know. We'll try to get to as many of them as we can. So, but yeah, it was great. Humbled by the response. Thanks to everyone who supplied a response to our question.
That leaves us to our own number 5 lists. These are our top 5 Star Wars novels of the new canon. So why don't you go ahead and start us off?
All right. My number 5 is Dooku Jedi Lost by Kevin Scott.
Okay.
The way it is told is more, it's a different style, and I really appreciated that. I actually had a question to Kevin Scott about it, and he always loved the old radio dramas, and so that's the way that he went about constructing this novel, was in that vein. And it's so unique, and it was such a good story. The way that you get to look in depth of that character that had preceded Anakin Skywalker in a fall. And so, yeah, it was really, really cool way to do it, and great insight into that character.
Great. I haven't read the whole thing. I started it out as an audiobook, and I never finished it. It's on my list of books to either listen to or read, at least finish. I've got a number 5, but I think I'm going to also include an honorable mention because all things being equal, this could have ended up being my number 5. I don't know why it didn't end up in my top 5 list now that I'm thinking about it. But so you could almost call it a tie for number 5. So the honorable mention goes to Rebel Rising by Beth Revis. It's a kind of a prequel, if you will, to Rogue One. So that was a good one. My number 5 is actually, I couldn't pick one out of the bunch. So I picked it as a series, and that would be the Aftermath series.
Oh, okay.
By Chuck Wendig.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that one ended up being my number 5. I really liked the characters in this book, and I really like how it connected to the original trilogy, and kind of brought us closer to the idea of where the First Order came from.
Mm-hmm.
As did another book, which I'm sure we will talk about here in a little bit. But yeah, so that one I put in as my number 5. So what is your number 4?
My number 4 was written by a fellow New Mexico resident, Rebecca Roanhorse, and her book, Resistance Reborn.
Okay.
Yeah, she did a very good job with bringing us forward and setting the table for the events that were getting ready to come. I really liked her character perspectives in it, and loved her writing style. In fact, I need to order her newest one. It's not Star Wars related, but it's called Black Sun, and it looks absolutely fantastic. So, number 4, Resistance Reborn.
Okay. Interesting. That's another one that I haven't read. Not surprising. There's actually quite a few that I haven't read, but really need to get to. Number 4 in my list is written by Timothy Zahn, and that is the book Thrawn. Not the series, because I haven't finished that series. This is just the Thrawn, the first one in the new trilogy. I really liked how Thrawn was portrayed, and gave us some insight into where he got, how he got to where he was in Rebels, and gave us a little bit more background on a very fascinating character. I also read the graphic novel interpretation of this book, and there wasn't a whole lot off the top of my head that was left out as far as major plot points. But you definitely, the book itself, the novel, is definitely the way to go.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So that brings us to my number 3. My number 3, which is one that appeared on many of our lists that people sent in, Bloodline by Claudia Gray.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a great great way to tell a story when you have a character such as Leia, who has possibly the most hated father, or one of the most hated fathers in the universe, and how do you deal with that, and what kind of repercussions that could you possibly face. I thought she did a great job with that. That was my number 3, Bloodline by Claudia Gray.
That was great. I really liked how that told the story of the origin of the Resistance, and why the Resistance was not part of the Republic, more or less.
Yes.
I really liked that. My number 3 was another Rogue One prequel, written by James Luceno, called Catalyst.
Ah, yes.
That was really good. That one was pre-Rebel Rising. This one was before the Ursos had met Saw Gerrera, and it talks about their relationship, how they got together, how he came to be in the Empire service, his relationship with Director Krennic. Just a really good background to the Urso family.
Yeah, I haven't read that one yet. That's on my list of ones to grab and listen to, or to read eventually.
Yeah, I've got a lot on my list.
So that brings me to my number 2 pick. And similar to you, I picked a series. But my series is the Thrawn series by Timothy Zahn.
Okay.
I have read all those 3. It's Thrawn Allegiance, and Thrawn Treason. And I love the character. Going back to the 1991 through 93 extended universe series that Timothy Zahn wrote. I believe it was Heir to the Empire. Let's see. Heir to the Empire, Dark Force Rising, and I think it was Last Command. Then he followed it up with Spectre of the Past and Visions of the Future. And I really enjoyed that character then. So I was, kind of disappointed when it went to the EU, but was, again, happy when he reprised the character and brought him back into new canon. Timothy Zahn is a really good sci-fi writer, and I really liked his take on Thrawn in this one.
Yeah. Agreed. So let's see. Where are we at? We're at number 2.
Number 2.
Okay. My number 2 was in your list earlier, and that was Claudia Gray's Bloodline. We had talked about that quite a bit. I really liked the characters in that book, and our background of where the Resistance came from, and just the whole political aspect of that book I really enjoyed.
Yes. Very well done. So that brings me to
I'm curious as to
okay.
whether our number ones are the same. Let's find out.
I'm going to guess probably not,
Okay.
but you never know. You never know. My number one was also written by Claudia Gray, and that is Lost Stars.
Okay, you were wrong.
Oh, okay.
You guessed wrong. My number one is also Lost Stars.
When I first picked it up, I wasn't sure what to expect. It was one of the first new canon novels that I had picked up and really sunk my teeth into. So I thought, I'll just give it a shot and see how it goes. I kind of got away from reading Star Wars in general after the EU split, and I started reading, and next thing I know, I look up and quarter of the book is gone. Several hours have passed by, and I just was already invested in these two main characters and where they were going to go. And I think it took me 2 days to finish the book. It just sucked me in. I didn't want to put it down for anything. It's just it was amazing.
Yeah, same here. I didn't want to put it down. I think it may have taken me 3 days. But yeah, just you said it all, man. It was just hard not to be invested in those characters' lives and that book in general. And Claudia Gray really knocked it out of the park on that one. Really great story. There's actually a manga / graphic novel version of that story.
Oh, really?
I saw it at my library about a month ago, I want to say. It was it's like a 3-parter. There's three books in the manga series, but the ones that I saw at the library were 2 and 3. So I didn't want to pick it up because I want to read the first one. So that was a really great book. There's not any other way to describe that. Not much else you can really say. The responses that we got from our I guess you can call it a poll or just from our question, and definitely a lot of people out there that agree with us.
Yeah. Today on Twitter, I posted a message. It said there's 2 things that most Star Wars fans want, and hashtag make Solo 2 happen, and hashtag make Lost Stars 2 happen.
Oh yeah,
and
I saw that.
I tagged Claudia Gray in it, and I haven't heard back. Not that I necessarily would, but it's always fun when someone that you tag in there responds to it. So I'm still hopeful. I have in the past gotten a couple of comments from her, and Kevin Scott as well. Hopefully we'll be able to get a Lost Stars 2. I would love to see the further adventures of these characters and see where it goes from there.
Absolutely. Well, that brings us to the end of our top 5 list, which brings us closer to the end of another episode. I think you had a couple of things that you wanted to mention before we called it a night.
I have. I'm actually working on a project that just started forming yesterday, and I have a couple of people that are helping me with that. So I'd like to say thank you to Mr. Cam Ray and Nicole from Peace, Love, and Star Wars. Man, it's going to be fun working on this super secret project, and hopefully everyone will be in for a treat once it's accomplished. And that's all the hints I'm going to give on that.
Super secret project. Okay. All righty. Any shout outs to any particular podcasts you've got for us today?
Nope, not today. I have a recording tomorrow with Peace, Love, and Star Wars, and then I'm finishing up a what is the Force as a religion that I hope to put out soon, and I believe Coruscant Radio Underground is going to be on that with me as well. So once I get that and send it over to them, so that's something that I have coming up, and then of course recording with you.
Great. I've got one shout out to the guys over at From a Certain Point of View. They recently teamed up and did a podcast episode with Dave and Liz from Pizza and Parsecs. That was episode 56. So you should be able to catch that wherever you get your podcasts. Really good episode there from two really good podcasts kind of joining forces. We actually have on schedule part of the Red 5 Missions series. We're going to be teaming up with the guys From a Certain Point of View to talk about Legends, stuff we'd like to see brought out of Legends. I think
nice.
That's the topic that we decided on. So yeah, that'll be good. That'll be good once we get that in there, and we'll be sure to let you know when that one happens. But that is all we've got for the night. So thanks for listening. This was episode number 27 of Rogue One Radio, and hope that you come back and listen to the next episode. But that is it for us. This is Rogue One Radio signing off.